And welcome back once again to the PCS Spring Split Playoffs. We are 1-1 in the winners bracket finals here, Clement, between the likes of PSG Talon, our reigning champions, and CFO, the CTBC Flying Oyster. Definitely were flying high after that last one. We'll see if they can keep that momentum going. But before we do get into the draft, I do want to take a moment once again to thank our sponsors, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible as always. And Clement, we're getting another Swippy swap, as it is going to be PSG on the blue side with side selection after that last loss. And we've had two games kind of get decided. It feels pretty early. I wonder if that's going to shift up here.
I do think PSG have realized that their prerogative is they cannot let Kaiwing just stay in lane. If Kaiwing stays in lane and they lose the bottom side, then they give the entire early game over to CFO, because mid-jungle 2v2, I don't think they're stronger than their opponent, and top lane kind of cancels each other out. So the most important part of this draft for me is definitely for PSG to hang on into a winning bottom side. And I will say that Kaiwing has actually been a very good support in throwing random picks, or not random, but throwing unique picks in a postseason setting to kind of get that advantage. Like, we have seen him pioneer the Yumi at Worlds. We have seen him just go with the Braum at times, go with the Karma at times through regular season to make sure they secure that.
He's a player too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of tools to play with here. It just depends on how things shake out, right? Like, Kaiwing is a very experienced player. As we've mentioned, so is Koala, but he's definitely more of the conventional mold. As we do see PSG, they are not going to take any chances banning the Jinx. That's 2 for 2 blue side, and CFO continue to remove the Ahri, so we actually don't see too much of a shift up in Game 1's draft.
So the big question here is, do they let the Xayah go? Oh, they do.
Rakan ban. Okay.
In the majority of picks right now, if you just secure the Xayah, you do secure the lane. You force the opponent to move into things that are, I would consider tier 2. And there we go. The Xayah is going to get locked in. So here's the big question for CFO. If you want to win the bot lane, are you willing to trade away hyper carry potential for it? If I'm CFO, I'm actually willing to do it. I'm actually willing to go all in onto an early game strategy and just go with the MF.
All right. Well, they're hovering on the Sejuani to start, but there is that Siren Song, the irresistible pick of the Nautilus. So much priority, especially for Koala on it. But we might get an answer. We'll see if it goes through on this rotation. They're going to keep holding their cards close to the chest here, as Gemini now a third game in a row on this Volley Bear.
They could still find a big win, like just even saving their AD carry for later. You know, they forced a double ban there, and then all of a sudden, top lane is completely open for Rest to counterpick. That could be a somewhat possible strategy, but I would want to see them lock in AD a little bit sooner rather than later. I think both the Kaisa and the Misfortune are up, have been played in other regions. There's definitely a strong possibility for that one to happen. PSG, on the other hand, I feel like they're just going for their game 1 sort of scenario where, okay, our game objective is we're not going to lose bot lane because we have the Xayah, and we're also not going to be capitulating in the early game with the Tempo champions, or I'm just going to pick Rise, that, you know, he doesn't have to get ahead, but he also is very difficult to fall behind on. So PSG, I think a very standard draft will, here is what I want to see from CFO.
Come on.
You have to win the bottom side. Let's go.
Okay, well, they're definitely playing with the idea. I mean, this would be a big pop-off pick potentially for Shun. He did pilot it to success in one game already in this split. And there's a little bit of discussion as they let the timer tick down, but I think this is going through here.
Oh,
and it locks.
So the thing about Kaisa is she doesn't win as hard early. You do have a big level 1 spike. If you catch out the Xayah with the hook, then sure, you can put a bunch of damage on her with Hail of Blades. But most of the times, it's actually a post-level 6 power spike coming in from the side of Kaisa. And it also does force your composition to play more aggressive. I think if you're playing with Kaisa, you're looking at triple dive most of the time. So CFO, you know, I think they recognize that keeping Kaiwing down is important, that if they win the lane versus Unified, they most likely win versus PSG, and they're going to go all in on this strategy. This is super fun. I feel like it will force PSG to ban away the Zoe as well, because that is one of those champions that can make things very difficult to play against, especially if you're looking at a comp that just wants to rush at you.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to respect it, and they do. For CFO's side, they do decide to once again ban out the Hecarim that gave them so much trouble in game number 1. I think that is a smart play as well. And we'll see if they continue to target that pool. Maybe the Lee Sin comes off the board up against the likes of Juhan now that they already do have Gemini locked on the pair.
Yeah, I feel like Lee Sin is definitely the one that's most dangerous. You're not really afraid of the Trundle in this draft. Jarvan, not potentially could be there. I think for Juhan, he's actually done okay on it. But
yeah,
you know,
he could run Viego. I mean, he could go for a reset champion if they want to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, I feel like for PSG, they're definitely looking for more disengage potential. If you look at the composition right now, you clearly have the range advantage, especially just against Kai'Sa. So the champions I would expect coming out, like Gnar, Gangplank, Gragas are all pretty good options on the side for PSG here. And for the jungle, you want something that can counter-engage a little bit. Well, I'm trying to think of what would be a good champion. I don't think Viego actually fits this comp.
Yeah, well, we'll get our answer in the next rotation, I suppose. But for Mission, it does seem like Comfort does take priority in this particular one, and he's not super fussed about facing up against Baze Rise. He's done it before, and he will get the lock-in. So heavy damage, but not so much on the dive for Mission in the mid lane.
Yeah. The thing about the Victor is that you can play him as a semi-assassin as well. In the late game, he actually drops a truckload of damage. You just flash in QWER pop, and a lot of times you can burn HP bars, and that's enough to allow Shun to just fly into the backline and start picking up kills. And, they go in a
Nabi, blind
different
Tryndamere
direction. This is interesting because Rest does have that Jax in his back pocket. It's been a long time since we've actually seen him pick it, but he does have that pick there for him. So this could be very dangerous here, as we do see that Jarvan. This is such a weird comp from PSG. They're trying to run triple dive into triple dive as well, and I typically don't feel like these compositions work very well against Kai'Sa because it's just too hard to nail down.
Oh, they're going to try for it, though, and the Viego does get locked in. They were playing around with the idea of the Jarvan, but they will not take it. What is going to be CFO's answer here for Rest as they have the counter pick for him? Do we get to see the return of the Jax? That would make it very, very spicy, Clement.
Oh, yeah, that would be a very fun one to see, but I feel like CFO, they probably want a little bit more early game right now. Their bottom lane and mid lane don't have a lot of agency, so they are just going to go with Renekton again. He should be completely okay in his lane. And what we are having from these two comps is PSG, they have the potential to triple dive if they're together, but for the most part, it will be a 1-3-1 comp. And for CFO's side, this is kind of a charge in and just try to kill everyone sort of composition. The advantage they do have is that they can trade sides quite easily with Killer Instincts. Killer Instinct is just one of those abilities that allows you to dive away from the Viego and Tryndamere quite easily and just play completely for trading sides here. So, in my opinion, I actually like CFO's composition a little bit earlier. I feel like their mid-game has a lot more potential.
Yeah, if they can get off to a good start. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to do exactly what happened last time around. I mean, I think you called it out. Like, yeah, we're never going to see that again because it was just such a fumble from Unified in the individual play after the dive was executed well. But I do think they have the tools to set up the dive again. PSG have to know this is going to be coming, though, because Gemini, when he gets to play the early game without too much counter pressure, and that Viego probably won't be able to match him, he should be able to set this up again, and bot lane is certainly the priority to try and get ahead. That is the secret sauce to defeating PSG Talon.
And PSG or Talon are going for a comp that we really have not seen them run before. This is basically carry overload in the late game. 4 carries that make it very hard for Kai'Sa to just kill one and kind of snowball the entire game away from. But the problem with 4 carries is that you need a lot of resources for all of them. You need the game to go late. And I think for CFO's composition, they have some very easy engages. Like, they just charge forward with the Renekton on the side lane, they land a Ruthless Predator, and there comes Kai'Sa. It's a very easy 2-man game to set up. And I honestly feel like it's quite hard for Tryndamere to survive that sort of a scenario.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Hanabi's got cooking when he starts moving on this. He hasn't lost on the Tryndamere this split, but he's only had a couple of games on it himself. Starting off, a pretty heavy movement of players on PSG side into that river, but we do have, into the brush guarding it, but we do have a pause coming in to kick things off. So just a little bit more about the comps. It is interesting. It is odd to see PSG experimenting so much, but I think maybe they didn't like what they saw in Game 2, Clement.
Yeah, I feel like this time they do have a little bit more early game to hinge on, especially from their bottom side. So what this reads is, again, this is what I would say is a bit of a staggered composition, where you do have very strong points from your bottom side to cover the weaknesses of your solo lanes earlier on. You get them to the late game, you play a 1-3-1 composition. Tryndamere at some point will outscale the Renekton, and the Rise at some point can play very well against the Victor in a side lane. The problem with 1-3-1 in this comp, though, is that Kai'Sa's an absolute 1-3-1 killer. This is something that people tend to forget, but she is a bit of a semi-global herself, and you have a lot of point-and-click CCs coming from both of these side lanes. If you have just the Q dropping from Gemini, Kai'Sa can instantly fly in and just join in on the fun. So I feel like 1-3-1 is actually pretty difficult to play, and I also feel like backline trading is also very hard to play for PSG, because Kai'Sa can just kind of trade sides. So I feel like PSG did a lot to kind of cover their composition, but everything they did kind of runs directly into what Kai'Sa wants to do as well.
Yeah, it's going to be on Shun for the outplays, but he's already shown that he has an incredible ability to play, and even up against the best of the league, like Unified, making him look mortal at times. So on this Halo Blades, Kai'Sa is playing with the cleanse. That does seem to be his preferred summoner in this series, despite what champion he may be on. Look at this mission in Koala actually moving up. They could look for a catch on to Bay early, but who's be baiting who? It's a dangerous start here. Just going to use the Sky Splitter to chase them out, and yeah, no full-on engages. I don't think either team really wanted it.
Yeah, small win there, I would say, for CFO. They get a lot of damage in before they can actually go back to base, so that damage will stick just a little bit into the bottom side. Definitely something to pay attention to. And we do have both of these junglers starting into the bot side. I think because of how late that invade was, both of them do know that the junglers are going top side. So that should equalize on some of the leads here coming in from Hanabi. Very early ghost pop. This is what Tryndamere's love to do. Rest got
interesting.
Cheese.
Yeah, he did. Also, point of order too, like Rest, he had teleport for a good chunk of the pick ban, but he switched it up at the last second to ignite. So Rest, I feel like he can't stop himself from trying to go for the 1v1.
I would read this as a defensive ignite. You definitely want that early game. Tryndamere is actually very strong against Renekton, and the reason is Renekton in the early phases, he doesn't have the dominance extra HP to burn through here, so he actually gets taken down by the lethal tempo plus Ghost Flash Tryndamere quite easily. So more of a defensive find. You definitely could consider that, but so far Tryndamere doing a really good job.
All right, catch on the hook from Koala. A little bit of trade of damage onto both the supports here. Gemini actually going to get spotted out by Hanabi. Goes deep into CFO's jungle, but he doesn't really have the ability to clear away the ward as he doesn't have a sweeper. So nothing really lost for him, as Rest is just trying to hold the wave. Actually a nice little bit of a cold there, and moves him back and forward. Unified and Kaiwing, meanwhile, under fire. Shun already starting off with pretty free damage onto this turret to chip it down as they push forward.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, they did a leash early, so PSG came into lane late, and they also took a lot of damage because of that Sky Splitter early on, and that's why you're seeing the reversal of the matchup. Typically, it is the Xayah that does have the extra wave clear over the Kai'Sa to kind of put this lane into their favor, but because of their start, CFO actually are the ones ending up with a bit of a lead right here. And on the flip side, you do see Juhan now dominating the top lane, making life a little bit risky for Rest. Again, he's not running the TP, so he has to respect the potential for a gank here, and he actually just goes back for a dry walk back into top lane.
Yeah, we are seeing the long con here for CFO in the level 3. Flash Unified gets away from Koala's dredge line, but that is a key summoner burned, so we will expect to see Gemini back very shortly.
Really nicely done here. Love that play coming in. Rest this time. Oh, I love the walk back. Gets the double slice and dice. If you didn't have that, Hanabi could actually just chase him all the way down, as there was no rage on the Rest.
Okay, Juhan's come in. This is the lane gank through the brush. Going to wrap around the side. But Koala and Shun are respecting it.
Very nicely done here. Don't think there's a chance for this to happen, and they do spot out Juhan here. The pings go down, so they know that the Viego's there, and they're going to stay safe for now. The important thing to watch is can CFO actually control this wave in the bottom side? If they do, it's a very easy gank onto Unified. There's no flash here. They have the guaranteed stun by Gemini. He can just flash in on Zaya at this point. So we'll see how PSG try to reset the wave. The best thing they want is the wave to bounce back before they set a complete back here. But in the meantime, we do have a nice visit here from Gemini. Oh, the bait.
Okay, Rest trying to bait. There we go. He's actually going to be caught up, and he does not have the ultimate.
Goodbye.
So Sky Splitter down. The bear runs in. There's the flash burned, and he's going to get followed. And he takes a bite out of crime. Gemini with first blood.
Hanabi with such a bad flash right there. Waited until the last second. The auto attack still went through. So a death flash there for Hanabi. A bit of a weird misplay here. We'll see if the pause has anything to do with that. I didn't expect him to flash at that second.
That was a little bit odd for sure. So as the pause comes in, we get to really talk about the game state, though. It's Gemini that gets first blood. It's not going to be the Renekton. I do think that's a little bit more right, because the Renekton, you want him to be the stat stick later on, even if he's getting a little bullied right now. Gemini should be happy with the fact that he can at least catch back up a little more, because Juhan had been kind of out-farming him and out-leveling him.
Yeah, we did see Juhan getting a lot of farm done here. We're going to be looking at this replay. Really good bait from Rest. I'm kind of surprised that Nabi actually went for that one. And we'll see how close the flash actually was. It was actually fairly close for Nabi if he was able to flash away from that one. That was a kind of short flash, though. I wasn't... Like, if you wanted to play that flash, I think it should have been longer. It was kind of a weird one.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of micro mistakes from over the course of the series from like both teams for players that we really don't expect it. And I am a little curious about that, because we are in the winners bracket finals. Maybe the pressure's mounting a little bit, even for some of these more veteran players. Obviously, you can't expect them to be perfect 100% of the time, but it is not going unpunished by either squad.
Yeah, did I miswatch that? Did he flash before? But anyway, they still get the first blood regardless.
Yeah, so after that, I mean, Gemini obviously still has a little bit of a ways to go before 6. We saw last game that they set up the dive onto bot side and really were able to cut it off. It was a nice chase down. They managed to get Kaiwing. We are going back to the game to see what the game state is. Juhan had started out on this Hextech Dragon, and that, I mean, that's what you do, right? You try to you get that because you can't really get anything else on the map at the moment. Things have reset. You have a momentary advantage while the other jungler's away. Still a little bit risky. Has to smite a little early, but there's nobody here to contest it, so it's fine.
And just taking a look at Shun's build right here, we do have the startup towards the sort of Eclipse build. Later on, we have seen a lot of people just go for more AP into their build as well. So we'll see how he goes completely with this one. In the meantime, I think for CFO right now, it's just about scaling to 6 and trying to catch people out in the mid lane. What you really want to see is the potential for this Kai'Sa to kind of leave lane and then join up on the rest of the skirmishes elsewhere. Gemini,
he's coming back.
Enough, I feel like he missed his big raptor right there. Or big raptor.
He did actually. He kind of just left it hanging. I wasn't sure about that. Like, maybe he saw an opening, saw something he wanted to get, but he ends up just doing the long wraparound. Didn't wander into the river brush and therefore spot the pink ward. But yeah, okay. Nabi's going to be the one to hit 6 first, regardless of what went down a little earlier up there. Ghost, but no sums for Rest just yet. He does hit 6 down, has Dominus, but Juhan wants to make a trip up here, and so does Gemini. Blast Cone, neither jungler is going to see each other. Well, never mind, because that was the control ward that did catch that out, so they cleared away. Back to reset once again.
It was a little bit dangerous for Juhan. He saw the ward and was like, nah, I'm not going in for this. Volibear could just be right around the corner, and he was absolutely right. Exactly. Bear sense is
good game sense for PSG. I feel like that is one of the big edges for them. They do seem to understand like timings, like rotations pretty well. That's something that this squad has really prioritized, and when they lose, it's because they get set so far behind that they can't make a good choice, like we saw last game.
And Nabi's going to know that Gemini is here as well, so without Rage, he's just going to sit there for a while. And I think the most important lane to watch right now is definitely going to be the bot side. Once Shun ticks over to level 6, there's a lot of kill threat onto Unified. He doesn't have his flash, and that means he cannot reposition the Featherstorm after he casts it. So there's basically zero chance that Shun gets caught by the Blade Caller here. And he also does have the Cleanse to continue dealing damage throughout Kaiwing's CC. So This lane is getting pretty hairy for the bot lane of PSG, and they still have to weather this next minute for sure.
They're actually going to bring Kaiwing up through the mid lane right now. I'm keeping an eye on where Unified ends up going if he actually follows through, because without anybody here, they are going to have free push in the bot. I'm wondering if PSG want to try and set up for like a flip or something. It doesn't look like it. They just kind of wandered up through mid first. But this is going to be a roam out from Koala as well as he backs away and heads towards mid himself.
Yeah, really nicely done. Now Rest is caught out of position.
He's in big trouble right now. He slices. He can't dice, though, and even with the Dominus on, he'd like to get the outplay, but Hanabi has his ultimate, and that is going to be the kill. As they look to reset here, all Gemini can really do is get a little jungle back for themselves, but they are going to start wrapping down bot to try to make the counterplay, Clement.
Yeah, this is so deadly. Unify does have his flash back up again, but meanwhile on the top side, I'm a little bit surprised that the Herald isn't just dropped for more gold as Koala goes in.
There's the hook, the blast cone pop. They're going to try and chase them away here. Unified will get knocked up, but he is very far out of the action. Gemini goes a little bit deep here. Oh, into the Chaos Storm. Unified just limping away, but can't quite do it. They trade out on the jungler, though. As Juhan gets that one on the reset now, Koala's going down for the double kill. It's a 1-for-2 in favor of PSG, and they're chasing Shun and Mission down.
Yeah, way too deep for CFO right here. Kaisa doesn't get to join with the Killer Instinct, and I feel like the play was already late. They had to walk through wards, and the effort wasn't completely worth it. I feel like a couple plays just on the bot lane tower was good enough, but they overchase, and now PSG has the chance to free Kaiwing and get the counter tie.
Yeah, that was a weird turn of events, I gotta say. I think CFO really had their sights set on trying to get the kill down bot. And they did. Credit where it's due. They finished off Unified. Mission had that long-range Chaos Storm, but yeah, I don't know if that was worth it, really. It's 2 kills to the Viego. Juhan already looking good now, and Bay flashes forward, puts Mission into Rune Prison. He burns his own flash. Gemini coming in for backup. Long range. That is going to be the Parasol from Kaiwing, and they can close this one up. Bay getting the kill onto his opposite number now, and Juhan even chasing Gemini out of the jungle. PSG finding advantages.
It was a beautiful play from the 3-man. We're going to watch this again. It was a lot of hesitancy going into this play. You could see Koala walking back, and Unify says, nah, I'm not taking this bait. He goes in directly, and then he walks back out. So I just feel like the communication was so weird here. Koala doesn't even drop his Ignite to secure that kill. So it just seemed like they weren't on the same page whether they wanted to get that kill or not. Shin isn't in range to join. You don't even see a Void Seeker being thrown out for the Killer Instinct there. So yeah, I just think CFO kind of botched that play. It seemed like there was some discussion on how deep they needed to go into this one, and it turned out to be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, definitely the case. So now the game stayed 4-2. PSG rocking that 1,000 gold advantage themselves, as well as the Dragon they got early on, and Unified might be set a little further behind, but I don't know if it's going to matter when you have the Viego with 2 kills. Hanabi is handling Rest pretty well here in a 1v1, actually going forward and forcing the slice out. CFO going to be muscling into the mid lane, but there's nothing really to take on this.
And that's why Renekton has slowly fallen out of favor here. I think Renekton has a very dominating early game, but compared to a lot of these champions that can use the new Lethal Temple in Season 12, he's just not been able to win trades at all. And the long lane does not favor him this time around. CFO bring a lot more numbers here. Let's see if they can get the fight going.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Kaiwing that starts off, and they do manage to land the stun on Mission, but there are a lot more members of CFO here. Big Featherstorm coming out of Unified, and it might just be enough. Very low health bars there, but Shun is able to open up with a double kill, looking for even more. Now this chase down, 4v2. Here comes the Void Seeker, landing out onto Bay, yanking him right back in. He's going nowhere, and they want to keep feeding it in. The triple kill. He'd love to have a Quadra, but instead, he's going to let that go to Mission, who siphons a little bit more life.
That was perplexing for me. I'm not sure what PSG were expecting, but that was just a straight-up 4v3 that PSG walked themselves into. They used all of their gap closers and CC on the tanks just to walk themselves to death. I am completely baffled by why PSG think that this play would be worth it here. You can see the 2-man, they run in, they start out on the support. Mission takes 1 crowd control, but he's so far from dying here. And then Unify just gets left to the wolves. Mission able to charge forward, he has his stasis, keeps himself completely alive, and yeah, that's
great chase
PSG failing the basic math.
Yeah, that's troubling, I think, to say the least. So we've seen a few throws back and forth right now, and 3 kills now onto Shun as this Kaisa. That's going to be some very healthy gold infused into him, and the gold game swings yet again another 1,000 advantage. They also have the dragon off the back of that, and CFO, it seems like they find the edges when they just get the... Oh, man, they'll be looking for the shutdown onto Juhan. He forced to flash away after the Heartbreaker as well. Doesn't have those tools left to work with, and just positional error after error.
Yeah, huge wins coming in from PSG. I thought they were going to be able to claw back a lot of their deficits in the bot side, but it doesn't seem like it. And I just feel like PSG forgot about Killer Instinct in that instance. They thought that, oh, we've cut off Shun, he can't join the fight. And then the crowd control goes down, and they find Kaisa right on top of Unified, and they're like, we forgot about that champion, didn't we?
It's you know, it was having a quieter game, and they really wanted to get him fed, but this time they got the opportunity served up on a silver platter. Now PSG going to look to try and cut off Shun and Koala, but they have help coming. This is a 3v3. They turn immediately on to the rise, and Bay nearly gets deleted. Koala going into stasis. Gemini still holding the line as here comes Mission on the Chaos Storm. Bay is going to go down.
He's going to go in.
Even picks it up on the Void Seeker, and he's into the line once again. A Cathian Rain, but it's going to be Mission who claims the kill, and another at the end. Mission also rolling forward, gonna look for a triple himself, and Kaiwing has no choice but to walk straight through the gravity field. He gets the stun, but that Leona going nowhere, tries to dodge it out, even tanking turret shots. Mission's having a great game.
I'm not sure what to say, but PSG basically just run it back. We have seen 2 back-to-back, 4 for basically nothing trades, given over from PSG.
No, Clement, that's not running it back, that's running it down.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, this is a real head scratcher for sure.
Yeah, I know Bay has a stasis, but they're making it so easy for Shun. If you do not put all of your crowd control onto Shun at the start of the fight, you have 0 chance of winning. They split their crowd control once again. One goes back on, hits on Koala, and they actually throw most of their damage on the Nautilus. So, you know, Shun, I think, has a completely correct read here. It's like, oh, you guys actually just spend all your cooldowns. And I'm the person with the 3-0-0 scoreline. So I'm just going to wipe your team. That's as easy as that. So I don't know. These 2 fights are very odd for me from PSG. I just feel like they haven't been able to coordinate with Bay very well on how they actually want to play it out. Because I think if you're going to make this catch, you should realm warp a lot sooner. I'm not sure what they were expecting. If they were going to catch, you don't walk to place, you realm warp to it. You take a taxi.
This is really weird too, right? Because we haven't seen these apparent miscommunications on this squad really all split long. Even in the couple of losses they had, it wasn't because of mistakes like this. So something is clearly going on right now in the PSG camp, and, well, CFO are taking advantage here right now. Even though they've made a couple of mistakes themselves with the Herald drop in the mid lane now, they're going to be looking for a secondary charge. And Nabi going to be forced to come around the side. He does have a bit more chase down potential. He's got the Stride Breaker complete, so if he gets into the backline, he can stick. The question is, can CFO peel him back right now? 16 minutes on the clock, and they have a pretty decent gold advantage of about 2,500, and the tempo is certainly in their favor.
Yeah, very nicely done across the board. And even though Tryndamere might be a little bit ahead of Renekton, it doesn't matter. Look at how much damage Mission's going to do to him just with a couple of rotations right here. He's 5-1 and 4. Nabi with the great escape.
Okay, there we go. I mean, he's speedy. You can't deny him that, but he did have to burn the ghost to make it happen. Meanwhile, Rest is caught out by Bay and Juhan, but he is very tanky with the Dominus on. Juhan forced to flash away. Are we really going to see the 1v2 outplay?
Still has flash.
Just
waiting for W.
Oh, there we go. Slice Dice, call the beacon. He doesn't. Oh, Rest, what a beautiful play. He's going to pay for it with his life. Or is he? And we got a split screen.
Oh, he's slicing dice. That's a 4v1, and he gets out.
He's out. Okay, Rest is making up for lost time in game 1, man. He's styling right now.
Oh, I'm not sure if Bay actually had the flash or not, but he wasn't willing to expend it right there. He falls down once again, and that is just massive for CFO. They get everything on the top side. They're going to be able to swoop around, take up this Drake, and Renekton is back into bottom lane back already.
Yeah, we were talking about him falling off, him getting set behind. Well, here's the problem. If anybody but Hanabi tries to deal with him, that Dominus means a lot more. So CFO Ocean Dragon #1 for themselves, so start to build that Drake stack up. We do have another Ocean Rift on the map for this Game 3. And, man, Fed carries on the CFO side. I mean, that Victor and that Kai'Sa are going to be a real problem.
Yeah, and I do want to update myself on the Kai'Sa build. I always mess up the Kai'Sa builds. I'm so sorry about this.
I mean, it's a mid lane champion, it's a bot lane champion. You got a lot of options.
Yeah, it is still the Luden. It is still going to be the Void Seeker first just to get the extra poke down. A lot of damage coming through this one. I'm not sure if he has the Q evolve at this level just yet. We will check up on that later on. But the gist of it is CFO has now wrestled the side lanes completely away from PSG. PSG might have been the comp to play 1-3-1, but they're losing both sides of this. We're going to watch this 2v2 again. I think the critical thing is they just don't have anti-healing here. None of these champions are running with Ignite. And just look at Rest. He gets one max Q down on 2 members. He's able to pop the Gore Drinker, stay alive, and just hold out until he has his second W down to chase down the kill.
See, this is why you need to coordinate before you go after the raid boss. Very clearly that didn't work on the PSG side. So, 19 minutes in the game. CFO with about 5,000 gold edge. They do control the side lanes. They do control the mid lane. And, yeah, Rest is going to be having a bit more of a time here with that. Gore Drinker is going to keep getting tanky. They just want to let him be that stat stick. He's not necessarily going to be the one chasing down kills as the game goes on. But for right now, still a pretty big threat. Take a look at the player gold, and it is definitely all Shun and Mission. Wow. Over at least 1,500 over anybody on PSG.
Yeah, that mid lane's winning by 2,200 gold. That's about a full item there already. And I do want to see CFO actually play a little bit more aggressive on these dives. If they land 1 CC, Shun's instantly into the back line. They can find kills super easily. But so far, they're willing to just kind of choke out the objective slowly. They have a 5,000 gold advantage. If we're looking at the Drake timers here, it's about 26 minutes before they can go into an Ocean Soul. That's a very strong win condition. They can already set up on the Baron for sure before Unified's going to come anywhere close to getting his third item completed. So CFO can play whichever way they really want to at this point, but I do want to see them play 1-3-1 into pick a little bit more.
Yeah, PSG still have a lot of threats. They still have a lot of tools, but as the game goes on, it does feel like they're going to be increasingly reliant on Juhan if they really want to try to funnel any kills, funnel any damage in. I mean, that Viego may be the play. He did start off pretty well. He did get the 2 kills already, but it's going to be so hard to try and dive into a Victor that has 5 kills at this point in the game.
I actually have a different view here. I think at this point in the game, you actually have to give up on the Viego ever being a carry, because he's going to be giving all of his jungle over to either the top lane or the AD carry. Like, this is the problem with running 4 carries. If you fall behind, you don't have the gold to feed them anymore. So, personally, I think Viego at this point is a reset bot. He doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah, that's tough. CFO not really going to let up on the tempo either. They're just going to keep this move pushing. Only 1 tower PSG have been able to get this game, and it's about to be 5-4. That Void Seeker does land in onto Kaiwing. Wouldn't want to take that one just yet, but it's a 5-member defense here from PSG, but nobody's guarding the fort in mid lane, so Rez can just free push this.
I don't think PSG, they know at this point, even if they play 5v4, they probably aren't going to be able to win because of the item difference, especially from the AD carry slot, is actually just massive here. So they're going to have to give this one up, and for PSG, the best condition is still to catch CFO out in a team fight. I feel like if it comes down to skirmishes, the solo lanes are so fed, it's just not going to happen. So PSG...
They got 2 big tanks on the side.
Yeah.
Look at this. They can just they can check if they want. I mean, Koala and Gemini are okay, so they get what they came for. They leave. It is going to be the reset for that dragon, and yeah, PSG just don't have an opportunity. Maybe Hanabi could just keep pushing the side lanes, try to be a threat, try to be just a thorn in CFO's side, but this is just going to be the outer. He does claim objective bounty, but he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, and if you look at his build right now, it is pretty much just lockdown Shun build. He is going for Stridebreaker to make sure he can chase up to the AD carry, and he also does have the extra Zeal item for extra attack speed right here. So he's very much focused on just chopping down Shun at the start of a team fight. Yeah, far. Let's see if PSG can find
Okay.
catches.
They do get Koala, but he is able to dredge line to safety. Teleport is already burned.
they're
The
not
counter,
getting
no. Hanabi going to cut off rest here. Maybe they have an opportunity to make something happen as he spins right back into the pit. Good dodge on the Void Seeker, but that is going to be the jig up.
Yeah, that was pretty insane that they were actually able to walk out of the gravity field and the ramp right there. So if I'm PSG, I'm considering myself incredibly lucky in that situation as CFO do head out to the Drake. And ooh, look at this from PSG. They're doing something sneaky, converging on the Baron.
This should be spotted by CFO. I wonder if they can actually get this one done. They haven't actually started it as they look to chase Koala and Mission away. Dragon does land and they immediately turn for it right now. Will there be enough time for Shun and Gemini to arrive? PSG getting cold feet. They're not going to take this risk.
I don't think it was really possible in this case. It's just the fact that Shun can actually chase into these fights so damn easily, so they're not able to do it at this point. They have to back out. And the win conditions are looking really scarce for PSG. In the draft, I said I felt like this composition did have a very high chance of just being feast or famine, and they did have to rely on bot lane with Kaiwing roaming the map to make the difference here. That didn't happen. And just look at this Viego. The second item, going straight tank. He's like, yeah, I actually can't go into like the.
Yeah, you called it.
He doesn't have the economy to go into the death stance or more of the more offensive items here. So this is what's gonna have to stick.
You know that whole like really overforced dive from CFO way earlier in this game, it starts to make a lot more sense given what's going on right now. I think even though they lost out on it, it was all about making sure Kaiwing couldn't roam.
Yeah. That's definitely true, and this is going to change things. I thought this series was going to go to 3-2, and here we go. Mission,
that's going to be the turn. They managed to find a mission, bringing everybody into the party, but the turn is instantaneous from CFO. Do they have enough to finish the fight? Mission does start, but it's going to be PSG looking to turn around. Low health bars across the board. Gemini going into stasis. They turn again for Unified, taking him out of this one as Shun is unstoppable right now. Bay and Hanabi have absolutely no chance against Rest and Shun. It ends up being a 3-for-4 with a big gold deficit. PSG, that could have been a heck of a lot worse, but they could not finish the fight.
And you saw what happened right there. PSG try to charge in as 3 to snipe off the kill. They pick a target that has stasis, and when they turn around for Shun, it's so easy for him to outplay the situation. He just killer instincts to the other side of the fight, and he gets to keep both summoners. This is why I was talking about everything that PSG want to do runs directly into this Kai'Sa. We'll watch this fight again. They start off pretty well on Mission. Mission does not get the Chaos Storm at the start out of the fight, so they preserve a lot of HP. They get the front line pretty early on. They even start with the double kill on Unified. But look at this. Shun is completely untouched, and they don't have the skills to go back and chase down this Kai'Sa. Is just way too fed at this point. He gets free reign, and then Renekton survives, out-tanks, and chops everyone down.
Yeah. I mean, they zoned him at first, right? But that's not good enough against the Kai'Sa because Kai'Sa's never fully zoned out of the game. Yeah. Big damage coming in for Shun on the back half. Rest able to hold it up. I think Koala did a decent job of like kind of body blocking for a little bit of that. And just off the edge of the gold lead and the item lead that they have, they're right back at the Baron. And, well, let's see what the response is. If PSG can mount one, they're trying to move for it, but they're a little out of position. No teleports either.
Yeah, and CFO do have this ramp covered very well. A lot of deep wards going into this one. A very easy gravity field just to chase everyone off here. And I feel
slow,
like...
though.
Here we go.
They turn again for the fight. It's not the Baron they wanted. They wanted the fight after all. Juhan zoned away. Chaos Storm not going to be able to find its mark completely, though. Here comes the Feather Storm coming in. Unified. No, Koala does go down, but do they have the fight? In comes the Bear Drop. Hanabi finally runs out of steam, but this is low health bars for CFO. They may have lost only one, but they can't continue this fight here. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Oh, that was so close for CFO, and I don't think PSG have the remaining power to go for this Baron, but that was a great fight for them. They get to stall this game out just a little bit more. And I think the critical thing was just how much damage Hanabi was able to get. He gets into the back line, he basically chops down Mission by himself, and then he also forces Shun away from the team fight. So very well done here on the side of Hanabi to keep this fight as close as it is. He goes with the E a little bit short, but then he follows up with a Strike Breaker, and once again just chasing up onto Shun, zoning him in a way, giving them enough time to take down these HP bars on the front. And, you know, if you're PSG at this point, stopping the enemy from doing what they want is a pretty good answer.
Oh yeah, considering how far down they are, being able to even fight it out like that is huge. So, definitely not as dominant as they had supposed. CFO giving up a little bit, and they still don't secure that Baron. Critically, it's a bit of a slow Baron take that they've had, even though they turn for the fights pretty quickly. But this does mean that Ocean Soul is next on the menu. 15 seconds, the position. This goes a lot faster than the big purple worm. So PSG are going to have to get in gear very quickly. Everybody's back up. Ultimates across the board. Vision, though, is here. Hanabi on the flank. Kaiwing waiting in the wings. Well, and Rest is actually going to find Hanabi out in that brush. So this is a bit of a wonky start already.
Yeah, this fight's a bit worse for PSG than the last one because they did not manage to get any of the summoners on Shin. He's still sitting on both. Rest might be a bit overextended, though.
Okay, he does get jumped on, but he does have the dominance. Meanwhile, he can zone Hanabi off for the time being. They can actually just look for the chase down now. That's Kaiwing and Hanabi a little low on health bars. They reset, reposition, but there is no more dominus, so this might be a chance for PSG to counter-engage if they don't get Death Lasered down first.
This Ocean Brush is doing so much for CFO. Mission can just stay here the entire fight and zone everyone away. It looks like PSG has taken enough. There's just... Oh, Kaiwing! Unified!
Oh, it's so close. Yeah, they're going to walk away from it. That's Ocean Soul, and oh boy, now they're making a beeline for Baron.
Yeah, PSG have to rush back into it, but how are they going to do it? They're facing CFO with the Ocean Soul. They don't need to reset anything right here, and PSG don't have the Realm Orb to engage either. They're missing a lot of critical ultimates. I don't think they can take this fight anymore.
I'm inclined to agree right now. We've seen, you know, probably best case scenario for PSG happen at this pit already, but it started. Mission waiting on the side. Koala trying to guard as well. This is the peel away as they don't want to get collapsed on. Navi does have the ult. Mission just going to get stopped for a second. Here we go. Kathy and Rain doing a lot of work here. Mission opens up by taking down Juhan to start the fight. Chaos Storm going a little bit wide, but it doesn't matter. Hanabi in the Undying Rage trying to get as much as he possibly can done. He stopped. He goes over the wall, but Shun is not keen to let him get away with the last auto attack. Now Gemini chasing down with that Stormbringer. Koala can't quite find the distance on that dredge line, but with no more Hanabi, no more Juhan, this Baron is finally free.
Yeah, Hanabi did a very good job in that fight. You know, he closed in onto Mission, forced his abilities off, and then went straight for Shun. But Shun's just way too flexible at this point. He's able to dance out, kite back. He had Koala right in front of him, so the Tryndamere wasn't able to engage. And you can see the frustration on Juhan's face. He's playing a very, very weak version of a Viego this game. His teammate's not giving him any resources in this one. And we'll watch this fight again. I feel like the angle of attack, the best possible situation that PSG could have possibly gone for, but unfortunately Juhan still goes down. Hanabi goes in with the Ghost, knows he can't catch Shun, tries to go for Mission here. The rest is keeping him down, and Shun just does the easy chase down. Honestly, PSG is not much better you could have asked for right there. They had a very valiant effort, but they were down 3 ultimates in that fight.
Yeah, and they still tried to take it. It's a little bit rough, but it means the Baron is going to be on for everybody here. CFO, Baron, as well as the Ocean Soul. Should be pretty sustainable for them to keep this push going, and they can just take their time about it right now. Cannon Creep doing their best to protect that one, and PSG are going to need to try and find a miracle flank. Look at Hanabi around the side again. This time, at least, ultimates are available for everybody on the PSG side. That's a long wraparound, but Hanabi's going to be spotted.
Yep, the ward's already there, and CFO are holding steady. Oh, they found Unified.
Oh, dear. And they don't even take it, not even required. It's going to open up the PSG base right here, and CFO, they are taking the safe route to victory, looking to go to match point here in game number 3.
Yeah, I expected PSG to win this series 3-2. They might still, but so far CFO has given me so many surprises. This bot lane has been doing absolute work for them. Shun, so far, still hasn't died just yet. If PSG, Hail Mary fight, the first thing they need to do is they need to look for that kill onto Shun. He's been allowed to get away with only expending his cleanse in these team fights, and that's just not how it's supposed to go. Let's see if Hanabi can find the angle onto this. Kaisa, can Unified stay alive right here? The engage has to come through for PSG pretty soon.
One Nexus turret already down here, and they're just going to keep this slow push going. Sky Splitter lands onto Unified. They do not get the Void Seeker. I don't think Shun would want to go in all the way on that one anyways. Going to be holding his finger over the R button, ready to go if he needed it. But for right now, not required. Rest going to get put in Rune Prison for a second. Doesn't matter. Kaiwing tanks a huge amount of damage. It's just such a massive threat, and they're not even going for the side lane's mission. He is chunked a little bit, but he can reposition. They have run out of minions here, but there is a super coming kind of the long way around, as it looks like it got pulled from a while. That's the slowdown onto Rest, and Nabi gets the chicken on to Gemini. Doesn't really matter, and they just bunch up. CFO not presenting an opportunity for a counter engage.
Yeah, Unified's been doing such a good job at dealing damage, and Hanabi's done great at pulling the super minions away, but they haven't been able to land most of their crowd control onto the backline. Rest is still holding onto his dominance, so he's very tanky. Here we go.
The hook onto Bay, and he did not look tanky at all. Shun with a godlike kill as Gemini just holding the rest of them back here, and Hanabi with a desperate move to try and get a kill somewhere. He flashes forward, he gets it, but the rest of his team is going absolutely nowhere. Rest dashes, slices, dices onto the steps of the fountain, but this is going to be it. With a couple more stylish kills, CFO will lock this one up. Shun unkillable and absolutely legendary as CFO go 2-1 to match point.
The rookie is roaring onto the PCS stage. We thought we were missing Doggo, but we got something comparable. Shun coming in strong for CFO. A lot of questions on how he was going to match up against Unified, because that's always the standard. If you can't take it to Unified, you're not really the real deal. But Shun, I think this time around, great performance from him. We were calling for the Kaisa, calling for the misfortune. He did not disappoint. Now, I will say this game, once again, I feel like PSG's bottom lane, especially their coordination around how to play with Realm Warp, felt incredibly off. They gave back-to-back quadra kills over to the side for PSG, and they didn't even trade anything back. So this is definitely not a standard game for PSG. There were a lot of mistakes. I don't think the draft was terrible necessarily, but the early game holes that they dug for themselves were very uncharacteristic.
This has definitely not been a typical series involving PSG by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of oddball mistakes, and really on both teams, but this time around, it was definitely much more PSG just not trading well enough. I don't think they respected the Kaisa very much. I mean, they couldn't have forgotten about it, but they clearly didn't know how to play against it in a number of these objective fights.
And we have to remember, both of these fights were ones that PSG actually started themselves. They were not forced into these fights. They were the ones calling the shots on them, and they just got completely outplayed. I think a huge issue is that they probably forgot that Chaos Storm could stop Realm Warp. So both times we saw either very super late Realm Warps, or Bay just straight up walking into the fight, which was odd to see. Like, most of the time you just see like the Rise just take a taxi and get there first. And okay, sure, you've established the 4v3. That's most likely your best case scenario where you can find a win. Now, I feel like this series is going to shift forward towards Hanabi. PSG, you know, they have a very strong bot lane for sure, but in this series, it's actually Hanabi that has been the one carrying the load and carrying the lane wins for them.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to give him a little bit more of those resources. I wouldn't be surprised to see Juhan on an early game jungler trying to give him a little bit more of an edge, trying to get the plays going. Because if they can bait Rest onto a pick that can be shut down, that was the recipe to success in game number 1. There's always a chance for them to get back into this. But I do think these drafts are really interesting, because both of these teams have taken a lot of risks in their drafting in this series. Yeah. And we've seen the bold picks, I think, fall a little bit more by the wayside, Clement. The safety seems to trump all.
Yeah, this is... I feel like I understand from PSG's standpoint, like, what they're trying to do. They realize they're being outmatched mid-jungle, so they're putting more of a risk factor into their side lanes. But at the same time, I also felt like they overloaded with the Viego pick. The Viego pick was completely useless this time around. Like, if you're running a quad carry, you cannot afford a bad early game whatsoever. So I didn't think that they were going to go for Viego. I think Xin Zhao would have been a much stronger pick in this situation, because he's a lot less resource intensive. He doesn't need to snowball as much to be useful into the late game. So I felt like that pick was a little bit weird. And, you know, I think PSG are slowly learning about what they could do. But I wouldn't even say that draft is overall the issues that they're having in these losses. I just feel like their bot lane and their coordination with jungle has just not been very good. That's the main issue. If you think about game one, how they lost is they just outright got hooked on a tower dive they knew was coming. And in the second game, it was, well, they decided to run into fights that, I was saying just a second before, it's like, oh, they can't run into this fight. And PSG goes straight ahead and then just dump 4 kills onto Mission. So, I mean,
yeah,
not much to talk about in some of those. Just kind of baffling.
Yeah, well, it's especially baffling because we've seen PSG this season just have a much better read on the map and what the relative strengths are going to be in an individual fight. And I don't want to say it's all out the window, but there's enough of these mistakes to make me think that there is something going on that they just have been a little bit off on. And here's how the game unfolded. I mean, there were a couple of early game advantages for PSG. That Viego did start out with 2 kills, and things started to look like they were going to be off to a rolling start, but yeah, then those bizarre engages happened where they were members down, where they just got completely decimated in fights that they chose to take. And CFO, when a mistake is handed their way, they absolutely know how to punish. Mission, I mean, you can try banning this guy out, but he's going to be pretty happy to play this Victor. He knows that he can always deal damage the longer the game goes, and you just can't shut Shun out when he gets himself on a hyper carry. So the Kaisa looked really good. I don't really think you can ban him out. Honestly, I would not be surprised to see him getting the MVP once again.
Yeah, that would be absolutely massive for him, for the rookie coming in here. You can tell at the goal difference over time here, there was 2 blips. That's 8 kills, 8-0 given over to CFO. I'm sorry, but you're not coming back against that, against an opponent like CFO. So unfortunately for PSG, they do need to clean up that bot lane a little bit more. And I'm wondering if they would be willing to either first pick the Nautilus, like put a higher priority on it.
Oh, Mission gets it. Okay.
Oh, nicely done. I think Mission
he had some
definitely
good
deserves it
chaos
as well. Yeah, I think the most important thing is he just completely put Bay into his own corner. I don't think Bay has had any good engages to speak of throughout this entire game, and it's mainly just because Mission's been pushing him in 24/7. He's been winning the lane regardless of matchup. And they just can't ban him out. Like, look at how many bans this guy's chewing through. He's taking away Syndra, Galio, and the Zoe at the same time. And to be completely honest, I actually feel like Galio's not even a very good champion for Mission. But
yeah, like, I mean, he does some pretty ridiculous things with it, but like it's not the same like level of like burst or sustained damage, right?
Yeah,
I agree with you in that regard, but I do think like he makes some really great global plays for it. He gets some good roams on. He's able to reset fights with it. But yeah, he's still doing this on Victor, on like a 4th or 5th champion for him. So yeah, I wonder if the PSG draft strategy doesn't adjust to like, all right, well, maybe we need to like try and focus a little bit elsewhere. As you mentioned, putting Hanabi onto something that can really start to snowball a little bit more. Obviously, they're banning Nara against him, so I want to see the Gangplank come back. I think Hanabi has had some incredible games when he's gotten GP. And yeah, I mean, the Tryndamere, it's not terrible, but there's not a whole lot he could do when the rest of the team was losing across the map. I think giving yourself a global ultimate to try and dish damage down across the way and still be able to put rest on the back foot, maybe that's the answer. But PSG are staring down a 1-2. If they lose the next game, they drop to the lower bracket.
Did not expect to see this.
We'll have to find out what happens next. We're going on break. When we return, we'll see match point for CFO.